Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdette's Newsstand, and we got the Drowned Earth finale, and I was so excited for this. And before I say anything about it, this was the perfect ending to a great story. I absolutely loved it. I love the Dark Knight tie-in. I love everything about this story. It was so well done. Scott Snyder is the writer, and then we actually had three different artists on this one: Francis Manupal, Howard Porter, and Scott Godlewski. And a lot of times the art bothers me when they use more than one artist or change, and this one wasn't so obvious. I felt like they actually did a good job of getting people that were similarly styled to do this. The only page that I could say was obviously somebody different was like the little intro page, but regardless of that, it didn't bother me. I don't know if it was just because it was such a good story, but it was well done. So I'm not even gonna you open up, and I'm gonna fly through this because I want to talk about it. I want to actually give my opinion more than I want to tell you about the story, because if you like it, go buy it. It's worth it. The first page is just a little bit of a backstory. We've got Aquaman and Wonder Woman are off. They were separated in one of the tie-ins, and they are together. So we have Flash, who is in the midst of turning, Mira, and Superman all fighting, and they are stuck. There's nothing they can do at this point. And when just things seem like they're at their worst, Gigantic shows up, and it just, they have no idea what they're going to do. And Aquaman and Wonder Woman show up. And this is where we get the first interaction between Mira and Aquaman. And I think this story, I know it's a Justice League story, but I feel like it's more of an Aquaman and Mira story with a Justice League tie-in, because what's so great about this story is the Aquaman and Mira parts. In my opinion, that is what made this story amazing. But going on from there, they're basically, Aquaman has the Clarion and the Trident, and he's kind of representing the life side of that, and she has the Tear of Extinction, and it's almost making her want to destroy. And that's just my perception. I don't know. It almost feels like a life and death type thing, and she has to kind of overcome that, because she's telling him, let's just kill the gods, let's just do this. And he's like, no, we have to, preserve life and preserve what is to come, because if not, that'll be it. So we get to see, a lot of things happen, and we get to see Drogue bring this death Kraken, and it is so cool. I mean, it would be absolutely terrifying, but it is amazing. He's the only one that can control it. Tide tells him, get it under control. Let's use this to our advantage. Let's get rid of these people, because they are the only thing at this point that could stop them. Wonder Woman does try to do, what she can do. She dives, and basically is just confronted by Cheetah and is unable to do anything to help at this point. She's kind of at a loss. So Aquaman and Mira continue to try to fight and prevent the Death Kraken from touching the Earth, because that's it. That's when that happens, everything's gone. And everybody's doing their part. Everybody's trying to work. Everybody's trying to fight. But it's really, really not working. And then we finally get to see Batman. This is what I mean, like, about the Dark Knight with the suit and everything else. Not Dark Knight. Heavy Metal. Holy crap. But he has a rocket, and he is able to kind of break through the barrier. But even so, the Kraken is still not under control, and that's where Mira and Aquaman try one last ditch effort to get that to work, and it just breaks apart their ship, and Mira goes flying. And we get to see some really good dialogue between him and Aquaman, just kind of showing their love, kind of showing what this story really is about at the end of the day, and it is amazing. Aquaman does try the Tear of Extinction, and it doesn't work for him. He's unable to do what it needs. I mean, he doesn't have his power at this point yet either. So Mira tries it, and it does, and she's able to kind of help out more, and she's able to, take that power and embrace it. So then we get to see a lot. Like I said, I am going to just fly through this. There's finally we get to see a confrontation between Black Manta, who is just basically ignoring Lex at this point, who's telling them to come home. But we get to see Arthur try to take him on with no powers, nothing. And that's crazy because there's nothing he could even do. But David, Black Manta is on a he wants to take over. He wants to kill everybody that he's been working with and just take over. He doesn't care about Lex. He doesn't care about Tide. This is going to be his show, basically, at this point. So he does throw sword, and it goes right through Tide's chest. Even with Aquaman trying to help, he's unable to. It goes right through his hand. And, she's been the villain this whole time, but you can't help but, just feel awful for her. And again, Lex tries again to get him to use the teleporter to come back, and he's just like, oh, sorry, bad connection. But he does end up fighting hand-to-hand with Arthur, and it's not working out. And Tide, in one of her last moments, right before she dies, says, Black Manta is not worthy of having this power. So she is able to give it back to Arthur, and that's kind of when the tides change. And Black Manta is kind of like, so what? You have your power back. What's that mean? It doesn't matter. You can talk to fish. The old Aquaman joke. And he's like, hell yeah, I can talk to fish. Everybody at this point is a fish. Every hero, every person is in the water and is a fish. So he is able to use this to a huge advantage that he doesn't even realize he could. And all the heroes, everybody are on his side behind him. And I love this picture. It's so good. So this is when he finally realizes he's screwed. He finally realizes that there's not a whole lot he can do. And he also realizes with Drogue gone that he cannot control the Death Kraken, and that it's just going to consume world after world until there's nothing left. But the fight continues with Aquaman and Black Manta. And finally, Black Manta's like, Lex, let me use the teleporter. And he's like, oh, sorry, I lost connection. And I love little things like that Scott put in that really, there's a lot of action and a lot going on, but it just kind of puts a little humor in there. But they're basically, at this point, just totally screwed. And they don't know what's going to happen, what they're going to do to stop this Kraken. So, and this is where it got me, and I'll talk about that when I'm done. But Arthur's like, I'm not going to let this happen, not on my watch. So he realizes that the only way to stop this is to sacrifice himself and actually just go and kill it himself, which would mean, the end of him too. Oh, and even going back through this for the review, I get misty-eyed. It is that good. I'm telling you, like, he says, the mariners say goodbye. The way the mariners say goodbye is to wish each other fair winds and flowing seas. And, he says that to Mira, and she's like, no, you cannot do this. Do not do it. And he's like, I will see you again. So right as he is, ascending to the Death Kraken, he gets this flashback to, him and his dad. And he's kind of just saying, there's more oceans out there, right, Dad? And he's like, Dad? And he's like, yes, son. And then that's it. It's the whole scene, the life flashes before your eyes right before anything happens. And it is absolutely like, I know I'm a girl, and that probably doesn't help out, but this is the first comic in a long time that actually made me cry. Like, I was sitting here reading it, and I'm just tears running down my face because it wasn't just the sacrifice, because we see that a lot. There is a lot of self-sacrifice in comics. It's the way it was written and the way it was done. And the way it was done was so well done that it took me by surprise. I'm like having a good time with this comic and I'm crying at the next minute. I love it. It is so good. And as he's saying goodbye, it says, he's on his way to new uncharted lands. So then it says 3 days later, and we see that the world is finally going back to normal. The tidewaters have descended. The people are coming out of their fish-like state. Everybody is kind of figuring out where they live, where they're going. Everything was a fog before, and everything is trying to get back to normal. Nobody can sense where Arthur is, not John Jones, nothing. Everybody thinks he's gone. There's no remnant of him. There is nothing. He is just basically declared dead. And the only person that actually still believes he's still alive is Wonder Woman. And she's, still continuing to search. They've got a monument for him now for everything that he did. And the last page, and obviously if you're watching my video, you probably know it's spoilers. I should have said that before, but I don't do non-spoiler reviews. So we see Arthur, and he is on some sea, or in some sea, washing ashore. And again, it says that in completely uncharted waters. So we know that this is leading into the new Aquaman that's coming, the new type Aquaman that is coming, which I'm not super looking forward to because I don't care for the writer a lot, but I'm not saying that I won't read it. Just not my personal favorite. But that was me trying to go through that quickly, and I'm at 10 or 11 minutes already. That's insane. There was a lot in this. A lot. And it was, the whole series was good. Now for what I've been wanting to say this whole time is this was, and I love like Heroes in Crisis. I love a lot of those more kind of pull on your heartstring comics. This was the first comic in a long time to really get me going. Like, really want to know more about, and I've said it before, I'm not a huge Aquaman fan, but this series alone has made me want to look into it more, made me really, really want to learn more about him. And that takes a lot when it comes to a character that is primarily seen in, as a punchline. And as much as I do like Aquaman, he's not my favorite. I will always go to Batman first. I will always go to Superman above him. But this was so well written. The Mira and Arthur line alone, without anything else written in, was so well done. It just shows that Scott knows how to write a really good love story, a really good action story, a really good doomsday type story, and make it right. The only bad thing I can say, it's not even really bad against Scott or DC or anything. It's just the fact that pacing was a little bit off. Like, it felt like stuff was rushed. It felt like we could have used a whole nother issue to explain things a little bit further. But when you're paying $5 an issue, sometimes that's, people don't like that. So that's the only issue I had with this, is that the series as a whole just felt very rushed. I really enjoyed this, and I could have enjoyed it with another extra issue or two just to get things down a little bit better. But this was the best story, and I think it's going to stick. I hope all this new lore sticks, and I hope that this continues to be well. I'm afraid I am going to start this new Aquaman. I forget I think her name's Mary. I don't remember who she is. I just know I don't care for her. I hope it is as good as what Scott has done with this Drowned Earth, and I don't know if it will be, but this has to be my favorite. I liked a lot of the tie-ins. I liked a lot of the Justice League, and I really like this. This was so well done. I cannot say enough good besides go buy it because it's seriously worth it. That is all I have to say for today. I can't believe how good this was. Like, I read it twice before I did this review, and the first time I was like so misty-eyed that I had to like sit back and like chill for a second, because I was like, this is ridiculous, Tristan. Like, you shouldn't get this way. And the second time I was okay, but it just really caught me off guard how well done this was. So yeah, that is it. I want to know what you guys think about this one, because I was really impressed.